Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Bill Doreste. I'm the CEO and the founder of the Cranial Release Technique. It's 7:30. It's June 17th, 7:30 p.m. that is, in New York City. June 17th. It's a Wednesday evening, and I'm absolutely delighted to have Dr. Matt Michaud on the phone with us this evening. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, Doc. I don't know what the weather is there in Phoenix, but it's 112 degrees today in Phoenix.
Then, if you can, as we say, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, right?
There we go.
112. That's a little hot for me. I know I've done classes in June, July, and August in Arizona, and especially in the Phoenix area. Obviously, you and I know we like to go north. Even northern Arizona in the summer is beautiful, but we're just starting to really feel the heat here. And here, of course, it's more the humidity. So, like, as you know, because you came from Florida, 90 degrees and humidity can be very uncomfortable, and 100 and change and dry isn't that much different. So if we were smart, we'd be like the birds and probably head north for the summer, right?
We should all be snowbirds. I think we should all be that lucky.
That's a good way to go. So, Matt, we're going to talk about a couple of different things tonight. And by the way, for everyone listening on tonight's call, Matt and I met, I would say, could it be 10 years, Matt?
It could be that close now.
It could be about 10 years ago. We met at a Florida State Massage Therapy convention. That's when you were first exposed to cranial release. You actually signed up. You took the training in Pensacola, if memory serves me right. And then at that time, you were a practicing massage therapist in Jacksonville. And then you decided to make a change, and you decided to head out west, and you went to Arizona. And what made you go out to Arizona, Matt?
Well, I sold my practice in Jacksonville, and I said that I really wanted to be able to do a little bit more to help patients than just soft tissue work. And but my practice really it's interesting because I've changed the focus of what I do, but I still go to the principles of when we change that soft tissue, when we change that functioning that's happening, we change health in the body. So I became a naturopathic physician at Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine. And what I found is that I truly liked the physical medicine part of what we do, and I've continued to work and use cranial release technique in the work that I do. Actually, my motto and what my patients will say when I see them is a CRT every visit, every time. And the reason that I like that is because the patients really of all ages feel the results afterwards, and they like the education part that I'm able to show them. A simple test before their session, their treatment with me, and then I'm able to show them a simple post-test, and they're able to see those results. I have some marathon runners that I work with. They truly enjoy the push test. I think I have the children that I work with that are under 10. I don't know that they necessarily feel what that is, but they like the consistency of doing the push test always. But I really like doing some of the muscle testing with all of the clients, teenagers and adults, on the table, so that we begin to show them really when I walk around the body and they feel their weak side. They feel their side that isn't functioning as well. And I really enjoy when they then introduce another patient to me and they're able to talk about the left side of the brain or the right side of the brain and where there is, some trouble, what's going on, and how we're able to open up a little bit more results or a little bit more strength to come through in that body test.
Right. And I remember one time, I think you were questioned either by a patient or a potential patient. I think it was an engineer, and said, explain to me about cranial release and what it does and how it works. And if I remember what you told me, you mentioned to this gentleman, cranial release basically makes a little more space for the brain to function and live in. And that answer satisfied him. And again, the trouble that I find a lot of the practitioners using CRT have is that they tend to complicate things.
Doc, you're absolutely right.
Yep. And, it's like anything else. When you first learn something and you first graduated from chiropractic school or massage school or PT school or naturopathic school, you have so much knowledge in your head, things that you never heard of, words that you never knew just a few years ago, and now you tend to speak to the patient like they understand what you're talking about. And I always say, keep it simple, use some simple tests before and after, because at the end of the day, if the patient doesn't acknowledge that there's something different in their body, they're probably not coming back. People aren't stupid, and they're not going to spend their money unless they get value for what it is. And that's in anything that we do, whether it's going to Walt Disney Park, whether it's going to a movie, to a restaurant, to a chiropractor, to receive a CRT, to GNC, to buy vitamins, whatever it happens to be. We have to, everyone thinks about, gee, is this investment worth it, and is it going to benefit me? And if you don't make it simple so a patient can understand it, and even what I also wanted to talk about with my students, and that's what I'll be speaking about in the future, but it's just coming up now anyway, is it really should be so simple that your patient could explain it to his friends and family. I mean, if they keep it that simple that you have to come see this guy. I don't know all the ins and outs of what cranial release does, but I know I feel better, I sleep better, my mood is better, my energy is better, my skin is clearing up. I mean, these are the things that I know you and I hear every day, but for the people maybe that are on the call that have either dabbled and maybe, gone to the website, the cranial release website, or maybe attended an intro class, and maybe they're not fully engaged in cranial release. They really don't know what we're talking about, because at the end of the day, when you watch someone, and I've been doing this for quite a while now, when you watch me do CRT, it looks so simple. It's like almost, what could that possibly do?
Yeah,
and then when you do some tests before and after, or the patient gets off the table, or as the day goes on and their body keeps changing, and then they report back to you and they tell you all the things that have changed. I've always looked for the best way to help a patient, and I really wanted to become a black belt at that. And to me, in my opinion, you can't beat cranial release. And that doesn't mean you have to drop everything that you're doing. If you just included that 1-minute technique in whatever it is that you're doing, like you said, Matt, as a naturopath, even in a naturopathic visit, whatever else you're going to be doing, and maybe we'll get into some of the other things that you do and that you studied, it always makes sense just to include a CRT.
It truly does, and you've hit on a lot of things that I could comment on. One of the things that I'm starting to do is I'm starting to treat families, and one of the things I understand, I can keep it simple how I talk about CRT. Sometimes I just keep my mouth quiet completely, because I treat mom first, because I want mom to know that it's safe, and I want her to know how it feels afterwards.
Right.
And she does all the marketing for me then afterwards. She motivates the children to get on the table. They want to be involved. She motivates Dad to continue to do this treatment for every week.
Right.
Because she educates him about what it's looking for. And Dad might not get on the table the first visit, but by the third visit, I'm doing the entire family. Right. Typically, when I go to some homes if I'm going to treat the whole family, and typically it's just mom who I show it to, and then the child that really might be identified with the most developmental needs that I'm treating. But, immediately the brother or the sister wants to give it a try too, and Dad, within 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing everybody that's in the family. And I just stay quiet, and everything that mom says happens. I just nod my head. It's a little difficult sometimes. I believe that CRT really is miraculous in what it can do, because it changes so much within the body. It changes the endocrine system. It changes the digestive system, which affects the immune health. But rather than me overselling it, I just nod my head when the other folks start saying, and this is what happens to me. And I just respond with that simple, yes, I see that happen. Mm-hmm. And give that validation. And folks do the marketing for me.
Right. And you just touched on something with whether it's children or children with developmental needs or special needs, or whether, as we've spoken before, about children on the autistic spectrum or adults on the autistic spectrum. This sort of topic came up a week or so ago when that article came out from the University of Virginia. And the first person, by the way, everyone on the call, whenever there's some new information or something that comes out or something I want to know more about, Matt's the guy I go to. Matt just...
I enjoy the phone calls, and I get calls, Doc, from people from New York. I'm surprised I haven't got one from overseas yet, but I never know what state it's going to come from.
That's
and
right,
they
right.
say, hey, I learned at CRT, and I'm wondering if you can give me a piece of information.
Right,
and
right,
I start to laugh because sometimes they're looking for, what's a green medicine that we can use here, and then sometimes the person's really looking for a path. Where can I take this medicine so that I just don't think about medicine as pills?
Right.
Chemistry doesn't create health. I think really that physical touch creates health. I think that as close as we can get somebody to nature, that's how we're going to help the body do the healing that it needs to do.
Exactly. So we're all on the same philosophical foundation, and obviously we all agree that there's this innate intelligence within the body, this doctor within that wants us to be healthy, and then we have to figure out why is it that people come in and they're not healthy. And I know you from your background, and I've been to your school. You invited me a few times over, and I know the course and the training that they put you through was very intense. And that's why when anything new comes out, or I hear about a new supplement, or I hear about this article about the lymph channels or the lymph vessels in the dura, you were the first one I called. And then, of course, we have a common friend in Lisa DeFalco, and I think you either study with Lisa or you know Lisa. And so, as you know, I sort of interviewed her a bit, and she kind of enlightened me a bit, but everything you said was exactly what Lisa told me. And did you want to say a couple things about Lisa's work or MLD in general?
I have met Lisa a couple of times, and I really enjoy talking with her because she's looking at really getting the body to work at its best with a different approach to muscle work. Sometimes we think that things have to be deep and strong, and she's doing that lymph work, which sometimes the body just needs a reminder of how it's supposed to work. And when you think of the results that she gets from activating the lymph, and particularly in that article, I enjoyed listening to Lisa's review and comments on the article because there is a direct connection to what takes place in our gut and what happens in the brain. And as we look at how the lymph works with those systems, I think one of the things that we find in natural medicine is that we can't deconstruct one system from the other. We're really affecting all of those systems at the same time. Perhaps from a cranial release perspective, the nervous system is the most important because that is the one that's communicating the messages so that those systems work together. But Lisa was just a complete understanding from her discipline exactly about how the body is connected to what's going on with the brain and connected to all that's happening neurally in the body.
Right. And Lisa, all my students in Florida kept mentioning to me, as you may have heard in the other interview with Lisa, that I need to connect with Lisa. And Lisa was looking for a missing link that she couldn't figure out. And when she took the mastery class and she understood that when you release the cranium and you release the dural tension, and the dura then becomes the epineurium, which then becomes the fascia, and when you release all that from the inside out, that sort of then releases the lymphatic system. And that in Lisa's mind and Lisa's words is really the missing link that she had always been looking for. So I don't think she mentioned it actually in our interview, but in her program now, I guess she teaches a basic and then a more advanced class, the master's program, I believe she calls it. She's now requiring everyone to go that's taking that master's class to also take the cranial release training as well, because she said you can't do one without the other, which makes perfect sense. So obviously, if you're a body worker and you'd like to learn more about something like MLD, I refer everybody back to Lisa because that's her specialty. And as we spoke briefly before we got on the call tonight, Matt, I've always looked for the simplest, most effective, efficient way that I can help someone and then just really master it. And the CRT I gave today, June 17, 2015, was better than the one I gave someone yesterday. And I've been doing this a long time. But like everything else, like when we talk in our seminars, like yoga, like martial arts, like dance, like any of those skills, golfing, the more you do it, the better you get, and the better you get, and the better you get, and you just keep getting better and better at it. You keep getting softer, better effects, better results, better patient compliance, and it's just a wonderful thing. And then I was just thinking about how many people there are on this planet and how many people would benefit if they just had a cranial release session, even if they could get in monthly. Just how that would change so many things. And, of course, that's what drives people like me and you to do what we do, because we're here to make this a better planet. And whether it's, with all the knowledge you have in the world of natural medicine, as you said before, you always begin and end sort of with a CRT anyway. So it's a wonderful thing, and it just enhances function. And that's the simple message that I want my students to understand, is that regardless of what the patient comes in with or doesn't come in with, they're better off receiving CRT than not receiving CRT. I mean, you could end it right there. But then, of course, if you want to get in deeper, as somebody like you with your special skills and diagnostic skills and in all the different areas that you can go with a patient to help them even more, so that's even great. But for the person out there like me, for example, I'm a chiropractor, and I know there's a lot of things now that we can do under the umbrella of chiropractic. The patients that came in to see me today, who are both patients that have been coming to see me for 20 years. I mean, they come in, they lay on the table, I do a check, I do the CRT, I recheck them, and I say, I'll see you on your next visit. That's my visit. Both of them took an hour each way to get to me, that I'm thinking of my two first patients this morning. Takes an hour to come here, to put $75 on the table, and to go back home another hour, and they'll do it again in a few weeks. And it's like, why would these people, these are bright people, why would they keep doing it? And of course the answer is they feel different, and they notice the change when they receive regular CRT. Life is just better that way. So
yeah, and I think that's the education that the people realize about their body, is they can see those results immediately. Mm-hmm. Here in Tempe, there is a large polarity energy group that I've begun talking with and begun treating some of the massage therapists that are in this polarity group. But not everyone is a massage therapist either. They're truly committed to the energetic work of healing that takes place.
Right.
And they have continue to come see me and I do some service work with them. They continue to come back because I can do one thing with CRT that they can't always guarantee with the polarity work. And that is, I can show them how the work we did is changed their body in 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I can't emphasize that enough as I work with CRT and saying, I know I do allied health. I know that I do alternative health. I know that your insurance won't pay for what I do. But folks can't even take an antibiotic and know that their body has changed immediately. And they're willing to invest their health dollars that they have in something that they can see the results with immediately. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've done is I meet with a number of children that are struggling in school, and I teach the moms to work with the child physically so that their brain is able to do the work that it needs to do. Immediately they see that change that takes place in the body, and then a week later they see test scores come up, and that's the thing that they're looking for. And so when it continues to ripple out, then they get excited. And truly, I know we talked about it before, but they begin marketing me to the other moms and to the other children and to the other families. That show them is very important. And I like your comment earlier that my skills are getting better, and actually as I'm doing more and more peds, my skills are getting much lighter. But I have to tell you, the CRT that I did about an hour ago was with a young man that's 27. He's a physical therapy student, and he really likes the hand-on approach of the CRT. And he came down. He is the fifth of 6 children that all had home births, no C-sections. Mom said that I talked with his mother, and she said that every birth was quicker. And with this young man, that was the fifth of 6.
Right.
And so he's going around now talking about, he's really going around talking about the results that he get and how much stronger he is. He's on a paleo. He's a physical therapist. He's on a paleo diet. He does cross training, and he can't stop talking about how much stronger that he feels. He had his 3rd treatment today.
Right.
And I can honestly say that even though he's strong and he could handle me being more forceful, I do the lightest CRT work to him that I've done in 8 years of doing it, or 9 years of doing it, and it's just getting better and better each one that I do.
Right, and by the way, in addition to everything else you're doing now, Matt, I don't think the people know you're currently working in a medical school as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm working at the University of Arizona College of Medicine in Phoenix, and we teach medical doctors, and I'm the only naturopathic doctor on staff, and I work mostly with a gastro class. Naturopaths are very involved in, of course, all of the gut health and how that affects the rest of the body. But I have the privilege, I also work with students that are becoming doctor of doctor of occupational therapy, doctor of physical therapy, and physician's assistants. And so I'm working with all 4 of those programs, and they don't know how it works, but they just put smiles on their faces when they start seeing what some simple natural medicine can do. And the key phrasing that I talk with them about is healing from the inside out.
Well, that's it. That's it, exactly.
And from the top down and from the inside out. And they're like, that thing you did to my friend, do you think we could do that? Sure, come on down. I'm going to be there at lunch, and let's have that. Let's have some fun learning about how the body works.
Right, and with all these different professions that you're interacting with, is anyone in any of those groups talking about the cranium? The physical therapist, the occupational therapist, the doctor of physical therapy, are those programs, are they doing any cranial work that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that they're learning the cranial nerves, and I know that they're learning how to assess what cranial nerve might be damaged.
Right.
But I don't think they have, I know they don't have as precise a snapshot, but I don't think they have the immediacy of a treatment that helps not only what's going on in the central nervous system, but in the whole body. And I'm even thinking of the chiropractors that I've worked with here in Arizona. They certainly are very well versed on C1 and C2, but when I ask them to tell me a little bit more about how you would adjust and work with the cranium, I get some pauses and say, no, I get my results from C1. And we've talked about this before, but one of the values that I think is with CRT is I truly don't believe it's massage therapy. I don't believe it's neuromuscular therapy. I don't believe that it is chiropractic work. I think it's its own vocation. And that's one of the reasons that I really valued the investment that I did, and I've learned more about it. I kind of took a risk when I started, but I learned a new vocation with just doing CRT that is its own special, unique application or modality that is very different from the traditional massage therapist and the traditional chiropractor. And being here in Arizona, the clients that I meet love that there is something new. The folks that are into natural work love that there's something new that they're able to learn and continue to expand so that they improve their health in that way.
Right.
And I really have seen the massage therapists that do the work here in Arizona put themselves into a whole new arena of the clients that they're attracting. They're not attracting the folks that are willing to settle for relaxation. They're really treating and affecting overall health and really changing what they do in their practices for how they respond to their clients' needs.
Exactly, and that's if you start doing CRT, regardless of the patients that you think you're going to be working on, whether it's just musculoskeletal issues or shoulder problems or back issues or headache patients, obviously you and I and everyone that does CRT knows that when you apply the technique, you're changing everything.
Yeah, and Dr. Doreste, from a practice standpoint, when I did the work in Jacksonville, I had 3 or 4 dentists that began resending me patients because they were seeing results with headaches and TMJ. And I was also doing a number of marathon runners at that time, and the marathon runners really liked the work. I had no idea that 2 years later I would be working with and be considered a specialist with autism, be considered truly a specialist at working with folks with reproductive health. And I had no idea that my scope of what physical medicine could do would be changing people's lives.
Well, that's it.
I know that we have talked about, and I'll just mention it real quickly, I had a young man who came to me, and he was a little upset because he and his girlfriend hadn't been able to conceive a child, and began doing the CRT work on him, and he became quite excited that he was getting results and able to see those physically. He had his girlfriend come in to me, and I started treating the both of them, and they were spending thousands of dollars on reproductive specialists and had been doing it for 2 years. And they had a baby 2 weeks ago and have been very congratulations to them. They're now planning a wedding for their whole family. It literally created their family for them. Right. And the two of them are very enjoyable to talk with, but their first visit when they were out of the hospital was they brought the baby to me, and they said, now you've got to do that to the baby too. And that was great fun. They get it. They know it for life, that it's a natural medicine that improves life.
That's it. And was it a boy or a girl?
It's a little boy, and
hopefully they named him Matt.
Yeah. I should have suggested that to them. Actually, the healthcare team in the hospital was a little bit worried that there were going to be some blood problems and an infection, and so they were going to keep watch. And really, I believe the CRT helped that entire system for the baby work well. And they had their follow-up appointment a week later and said there are no problems, continue to keep the baby at home. So great. I can't tell you exactly that we changed the things, and I know they told the pediatrician how excited they were about the cranial release, and he kind of nodded his head and doesn't really know what they're talking about, but they know without a fact that it helped them. Right. They have even requested, as you probably get some requests, they have requested about how they could receive the training and treat their family.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, you know what? We covered quite a bit here, Matt, and I think what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, I think I'd like to maybe stop now, and then maybe we'll pick this up another time, and maybe we'll focus more on, because there's so many different directions I want to go with you, because you're a wealth of knowledge, especially now with the naturopathic training that you have. So maybe we can come back again and we can talk one time about kids. Maybe we can talk about the elderly and the issues that plague the elderly, and how CRT and some of the other natural remedies and natural medicine concepts that you have can help. And we can just continue the dialogue, because I think this is important for everyone. And if that's okay with you, I'd like to continue this.
I would look forward to another conversation. I truly think that CRT set me apart as a massage therapist, and I know that it sets me apart now as a naturopathic physician. Not only am I doing and not relying like an MD does on health made in a chemical lab, but I'm doing as close to nature as I can because it's physical and because the results are immediate.
Well, that's wonderful, huh? You know, and this is why I sold my practice back in 2004 and sort of took the show on the road, because I knew that if I could just get out there and explain this to enough practitioners, then there'd be stories like this where I know if I can do it, you can do it. And all you need to do is spend 3.5 days with us, and we can train you how to do this. So, you know, for the people that may be listening, and maybe have dabbled in CRT or thought about it, any final comments for those people that may be on the fence out there listening, Matt, about making the investment and actually learning the work?
Yeah, I can honestly say to you, and I've said this to you before, and you laughed at me when I said it. My initial, I liked the technique when it was done, and I thought it was amazing to my body. And my initial thought was, can I afford this? Right. And I can tell you now that not only I couldn't afford not to. I think because I got more. Your class was cheaper than any naturopathic class that I took in my curriculum, and I got more change in clients from that investment than I have in any other single class that I've taken. And I would easily pay 5 times what I paid for the class, knowing what I know now, even though that was a challenge when I first signed up for the class.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to send the bill in the mail to you, Matt, 5 times, you said, so that's coming. And I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, because I don't want the conversations to go too long. I want them to be short and sweet. So maybe the next one we'll talk about kids and maybe autism, because I know that's a topic very close to both your and my heart, and there's so many kids out there that need help, and probably for every one that comes into your office or my office, there's thousands that never come to us. So the more we can educate our students and the potential students about that, we may have some answers to help in this problem, a simple, natural way with no side effects that can only help. I mean, wouldn't that make sense if every parent understood that, whether your child had autism or didn't? So let's continue this conversation, and thank you so much for joining us tonight, man.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
You got it. Good night. Have a good night, Matt.
Good night.